Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville, fiber internet, streaming TV, home security, and automation in southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Maller Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis, lawmg.com. The IU School of Education, preparing teachers, scholars, and administrators to improve teaching in Indiana and around the world. education.indiana.edu. IU Alumni Association, connecting IU's network of alumni and sharing the Indiana spirit through scholarships, advocacy, and volunteerism. alumni.iu.edu. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. Collisions in construction work zones are rising in Indiana. Workers say it's hard to get drivers to slow down.
You can feel the semis. If you're too close to the barrels or the devices they have between us and the traffic, the semis will blow your hard hat off your head.
We'll look at proposed efforts to increase safety for those on the job and those driving through. Our environmental reporter Rebecca Thiele explains how the changes made to the Water of the United States rules will affect Hoosier farmers. And we travel the state to get a taste of the seemingly infinite interpretations of Indiana's iconic Tenderloin and get a history lesson along the way.
It's Indiana. This is Indiana. This is just what we do. You know, it's homemade, it's great.
Those stories, plus the latest news headlines from across the state, right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. Cold winter temperatures mean many construction projects are on pause, resulting in fewer barrels for drivers to wind through and fewer work zone speed limits to follow. But conversations about how to increase safety for construction workers aren't slowing down. As Lindsay Wright reports, one idea leaders in the field are advocating for includes completely shutting down roads.
Imagine trying to do your job and do it well with cars flying past you.
You can feel the semis. If you're too close to the barrels or the devices they have between us and the traffic, the semis will blow your hard hat off your head.
Jason Brown has been in the construction business for more than 2 decades. He knows exactly what it's like to be in the middle of a work zone and see drivers zipping by well above the speed limit. And oftentimes, all that stands between workers and passing traffic is an orange and white striped barrel.
The phone situation is bad. The distracted driving is bad. You can look down a line of traffic and you can just see people aren't looking up. They're looking down. What's really scary is when you see semi-drivers doing it.
Brown says working in these areas can be unnerving, even without all the cars. It's a dangerous job, and industry leaders say distracted driving is on the rise. In a survey conducted by a National Contractors Association, more than 50% of contracting firms said they experienced a crash in their work zones. Work zone crashes in Indiana that resulted in injury have almost doubled in the last 5 years. And it's not just construction workers who are impacted. 11 drivers and 4 passengers died during the past fiscal year.
The vast majority of the accidents that occur in work zones are with the traveling public, the individuals who are driving into the work zones, and those are where the accidents occur and frankly where most of the injuries occur. It's not to the workers as much as it is to the drivers.
Hedgecock and other industry leaders say there's an easy solution to prevent the hazards that come with this type of construction work: shutting down roads completely. It's what INDOT did several months ago when sections of I-465 just outside Indianapolis needed extensive repairs because of weather damage, and the results were telling.
Quality increased on the job, speed increased on the job, they got it done quicker, costs were down on the job, and obviously safety.
INDOT officials say increased safety for workers was the #1 benefit, but in addition, the project took only 18 days to complete. Under normal circumstances, officials say the same amount of work would have taken several months. And the state says it saved up to 30 or 40% on the $10.2 million project. As a result of conversations with those who work on the roads and seeing the benefits firsthand, INDOT is considering shutting down more roads. That could include portions of State Road 37 in 2021, which the agency said could speed up the completion of I-69 Section 6 through Martinsville.
There is a record level of road construction happening around Indiana, and as a result of that, we at INDOT are continually thinking of ways to make those work zones safer and balance our need to do road construction to maintain our highways, but also keep the folks that work on them and the folks that use them safe.
Closing roads is often met with outcry from drivers, but workers can complete projects faster and more efficiently. Cheryl Weiser is a safety director for Fox Contractors. She has regular conversations with INDOT about work zone safety. She says the temporary inconvenience of closing more roads is ultimately going to provide the safest work zone. So she thinks things are moving in the right direction.
But when there's a tragedy, it just tells us that we're moving too slow. Yeah. Because something's got to happen, because we don't want that to happen.
Weiser says she understands shutting down an entire road or section of an interstate isn't always a realistic option. Brown acknowledges that as well.
I think ultimately it comes down to awareness for the traveling public. Logistically, it's not able to shut all these jobs down and put a barrier wall up and give us the amount of time that we need, so you're always going to have projects where you have exposed workers.
Brown says the road construction industry has worked hard over the years to increase safety in work zones, but so much of it is out of their control. And that's frustrating because it can be a matter of life and death. Oftentimes, the accidents are preventable. He has a family he wants to come home to every night, and he wants to see his coworkers do the same.
I've got guys that are on the crews I run. I've known them for 20 plus years. I mean, we've been to each other's weddings. We know each other's kids. And to think about one of those guys not going home, and then I have to go to their house and tell their wife, who I know personally, that he's not coming home tonight, is gut-wrenching on any level.
Lindsay joins us for a bit more. You mentioned it's not always realistic to shut down a road completely. So what are some of those challenges they're dealing with?
I think the main challenge and factor they're thinking about is whether there are accessible alternative routes for people to use. So people still need to get where they're going, but they're also considering whether it will result in a higher quality of work, cost savings, and also those safety benefits. NDOT says these are the questions that are going to become a normal part of the formula when discussing future projects.
So say a road can't be shut down, are they thinking of other ideas on the table to help with safety?
All of the people I talked to brought up camera enforcement. So you're driving through a work zone and you're captured speeding, you get issued a ticket. Nearly half of the states do some type of this enforcement. An Indiana representative, Jim Pressel, is actually drafting a bill he plans to file in the upcoming legislative session that would include some of these regulations in work zones. Folks with NDOT have said there are privacy and cost considerations. Pressel acknowledges that. He says he's sure those things are going to come up as his bill moves forward. But unfortunately, people in the road construction industry said it takes consequences to get people to actually slow down. So they say blue lights, cops being present in the work zone, that gets people to slow down because they know they're likely to get pulled over. Not much else does. So they think cameras would be a game changer.
Lindsay, thank you very much. Great report.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Now for headlines, we go over to Barbara Brosier, who has the latest on this week's top stories.
Thanks, Joe. The Department of Child Services is asking for $286 million more a year for the next 2 years. Republican leaders say that doesn't leave much new money left for other priorities. But other lawmakers point to $1 billion new Governor Eric Holcomb secured from a renegotiated toll road deal.
The legislature, through the budget process, needs to decide where that money is going.
Lawmakers will use next week's state revenue forecast to help determine if they can fulfill the budget request and many others. But House leaders say the DCS funding request is likely locked in. The Terre Haute City Council voted against rezoning land on Prairieton Road last night to make way for a new Vigo County jail. Residents at the meeting spoke on both sides of the issue. Council president says that he's appreciative of the public feedback, but the argument against the rezoning was the most compelling.
I felt like it would be a true opportunity cost if we put a jail at that property. There are other potential alternative locations as well that I think should be considered.
Vigo County commissioners first proposed the Prairieton property last year, but later withdrew the option after backlash from the public. In October, the commissioners decided to reconsider the site to house the $66 million jail. In order to secure the property, though, the city council needed to approve the request to rezone the 64-acre property. Now, county commissioners have the option to appeal the council decision or present a proposal for a new site. If talks at this week's legislative conference are any indication, we likely will not see any bills pushing for energy efficiency out of the State House this year. Indiana Senator Jim Merritt says his 2015 law, which allowed utilities to develop their own energy efficiency programs with state approval, is working.
As long as we see continually better results from the plans that we have now, you probably won't see legislation.
He says utilities saved 8,000 more megawatt hours in 2017 than 2016. Environmentalists say the state isn't doing enough for energy efficiency. A study released this summer showed that by repealing Energizing Indiana, the state has missed out on about $95 million in savings and thousands of jobs. Paoli Peaks is making snow, but it's unclear when it will open. Warm weather means ski and snowboarding season in Paoli keeps getting shorter. The resort was only open for about 2 months last season. The general manager says that could be the case again this year.
We do everything we can to try to open during the winter break for all the kids. This year it's not looking too great as we got some warm temps rolling in this weekend.
Paoli has been able to start making snow. Meanwhile, Perfect North Slopes in southeastern Indiana is open, and we've got rain today, not snow, so that's not helping their case.
I feel like we will get our share of snow sometime soon.
Eventually.
Thanks, Barbara. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk, we traveled the state to try and find out how one not-so-little sandwich grew into a Hoosier tradition. And one Indiana distillery is working with an IU researcher to bring a local twist on a classic drink. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
The WTIU WFIU news team connects Indiana to the world. We bring you the top news of the day on radio, TV, and online. We round up the stories that have people talking each week and dig deep into the issues that affect your community the most. The WTIU WFIU news team is where you are and telling your story.
$10,000.
15? 15, you think?
20, 21,000?
600.
20. 18.5.
24.
It's at least 40.
Look at it.
45,000.
650.
20.
650.
This textile would be worth about $500,000.
$500,000?
No way.
I knew it. It's just a blanket.
Laying on the back of a chair. Well, sir, you have a national treasure.
Wow.
A national treasure. Congratulations.
I can't believe this.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. This week, the Trump administration proposed a replacement for Obama's controversial Waters of the United States rule, which defines which bodies of water get federal pollution projections. Now, to help explain what this proposal means for Indiana, we have our energy environment reporter, Rebecca Thiele. Thiele, thank you so much for being here today. So let's talk first about the Obama-era rule. So what did that do?
Well, Joe, the WOTUS rule was supposed to protect larger bodies of water like rivers and lakes, but the Obama administration wanted to protect more than that by adding streams and wetlands.
So then how did that become controversial?
Well, I think the best person to answer that, Joe, would be a farmer. Don Lamb farms corn, soybeans, and wheat in Lebanon.
Wow, could this small stream or even this puddle in my farmstead be considered a water of the United States?
Lamb was worried that the government would come in and fine him for finding pollutants in seemingly small, insignificant streams.
So the other side of that, though, is that the law could take away some pollution protections as well, right?
That's right, especially wetlands and streams that are created by big rains. These temporary streams might not seem important, but according to an EPA past report, ephemeral and seasonal streams make up 60% of all waters in the U.S., though the Trump administration did refute those numbers. I think it's also really important to say, Joe, that Indiana we never implemented the Water of the United States rule with Obama's version. So we never had those protections. And this proposal is even less protective than the law we're under right now.
All right, Rebecca Thiele, thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe.
As Indiana's farmers make plans for 2019, a growing number of them are spending money on crops that won't yield any money. As Brock Turner reports, it's a trend the state expects will continue.
Joe Peden owns farmland that gets filled with corn and soybeans every summer. But there's another crop that's becoming part of his routine. Cover crops prepare the soil for next year's planting season but aren't harvested. It's an additional expense and chore for farmers, but Peden says it pays off come harvest time.
Losing soil through erosion, you're losing fertility. And if you've got a cover crop out there and you stop this erosion, then you're getting more of your fertility retained.
Indiana's Department of Agriculture says there were only a handful of cover crop acres in 2010. This winter, the agency says farmers across the state will plant an estimated 1 million acres. That's about 10% of all row crop acres in Indiana.
We want to be in 2025 at 5 million acres. So a pretty significant increase in a fairly short amount of time, but that's the goal we've laid out. And that's what we all as partners are working towards.
But the benefits of rich soil and reduced erosion aren't enough to entice some farmers to adopt the practice.
New practices like cover crops just add costs, right? Cover crop seed isn't cheap, and labor to put that seed on isn't cheap, so it's an add-on additional cost. And that can be a tough decision to make in tough economic times.
That's why the state's offering financial incentives to help farmers kick off their cover crops for the first few years. And Peden says he thinks that's money well spent. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Brock Turner.
Well, we want to find out what you want to know about Indiana and the people who live here. It's part of our Inquire Indiana series where we answer your questions, and a couple of you wanted to know what foods are significant to Indiana. Barbara Brosier traveled the state to find the answer.
It's lunchtime at Come and Get It in Martinsville. The restaurant is full of regulars, but it's Melissa Bauer's first time here.
Put whatever on it you usually put on it.
Okay. We're here because Bauer has a question she wants us to answer.
My question was, what foods are Indiana originals? And the reason why I asked that question is because I'm originally from Maine. And when I moved out here, I noticed all the foods that I was used to were created a little bit differently out here.
She'd heard of other Indiana favorites, like sugar cream pie and persimmon pudding. But somehow, the sandwich Hoosiers consider synonymous with the state never came up.
People are so used to tenderloins being out there that they don't even realize this food is part of Indiana history. It's kind of interesting.
We set out to learn how the breaded pork tenderloin became so popular in Indiana. And everyone kept pointing us to the same place.
There was a German immigrant in 1908 that had a local food cart that he started selling his version of a new recipe similar to the Wiener Schnitzel, but is now known as the pork tenderloin sandwich.
That man was Nick Feinstein, a Huntington entrepreneur who opened Nick's Kitchen.
Okay, so this picture right here is when it's in the 1920s, before Nick sold it, and Nick Feinstein is here in the center.
Feinstein sold his interest in the business to two local men in the late 20s. Now Jean Ann Bailey runs the restaurant, and while she's tweaked his recipe for this beloved sandwich a bit, for the most part, it's the same.
The tenderloin itself, we slice them here, and then we run them through a cuber, which is it tenderizes the meat, and then we marinate them. And that is the key right there. We marinate them in a buttermilk and egg and flour mixture for more than a day.
Then they're breaded in cracker crumbs, deep fried, and served up fresh.
People eat them different ways. Some people fold them over, some people eat all the edges around first. Some people just dive in, cut it in half and dive in.
Year after year, Hoosiers vote Nick's Tenderloin the best in the state.
A lot of the places have a pretty thin tenderloin with mostly breading. And this one's a real handmade, thicker tenderloin with nice breading.
They taste better than anybody else's. I mean, I eat tenderloins everywhere I go, but this is the best. So
Best in Indiana?
Best anywhere.
While this is often referred to as the birthplace of Indiana's tenderloin, you can find the sandwich just about anywhere in Indiana.
It's a butterflied pork loin fillet that we have cut by a local butcher, and then we bread them and fry them here.
It's what keeps the loyal lunch crowd coming back to this Sunoco station in Crawfordsville.
And we're a regular stop on a bunch of travelers' trips, and they will come just to get our tenderloins.
They sell a couple hundred tenderloins a week.
I want it to have that initial crunch when they bite into it, and the juiciness of it, and just a burst of flavor in their mouth. And I want them to go, wow, did I just get this at a gas station?
This is my breading for my tenderloin.
Even the state's only Indonesian restaurant offers a tenderloin. 4 different kinds, in fact.
I want them to try that the meat actually is not just the breading, but you can do everything with your tenderloin, with your meat.
It all started after a friend of the owner's invited her to participate in an annual tenderloin throwdown.
And I said, what's that tenderloin?
She won in half the categories and took home all but 1 award the next year. It seems every place has its own take on the Hoosier Classic. Some like it pounded thin, others thick and juicy.
Okay, here we go, tenderloin. Hand-cut pork loin, grilled with our special seasoning or lightly breaded and cooked to perfection. Well, if you describe it that way, I need to order one.
Bauer wasn't sure how she prefers her pork, because even after living in Indiana for 13 years, she'd never tasted a tenderloin. We had to change that. And what better place than one of the stops on Indiana's Tenderloin Trail?
Oh my goodness, I don't even know where to start. Okay. That's really good.
And through that bite, she gained a better understanding of why, to Hoosiers, this is so much more than a sandwich.
It's people's way of celebrating their history, whether they know they're doing that or not. The fact that they're eating this food every summer at the fair or in diners like this one, it's their way of celebrating their heritage.
Oh my, I wish you could smell the studio right now. These look amazing. Where'd you get these, Barbara?
So we thought if we're doing a story on tenderloins, we had to get some. We're here in Bloomington, so we've got this one from Trojan Horse and this one from Nick's English Hut. They just happen to be the closest to the station. This is not a statement about the best tenderloin, but what's so interesting is you find these sandwiches all over the state, of course, but every place seems to have their own unique spin, their own recipe. And people get so fired up, Joe, about what they like in a tenderloin. These are, I wouldn't say thick, but these aren't the huge, really thin ones that hang off the bun, where you might need 4 or 5 buns. These are a little bit thicker, but some people love those huge, really thin ones. It's really personal preference, and people get pretty heated about how they like them prepared.
Great job, Barbara. I can't wait to have one later.
And if people have a place they love, we've got a map on our website. If they click on this story on WTIUnews.org.
Thank you, Barbara. A Bloomington distillery is teaming up with Indiana University researchers to create what they say is a hyper-local product. As Taylor Haggerty reports, Cardinal Spirits creates its honey schnapps with help of local beers.
Cardinal Spirits co-founder Adam Quirk says the company's honey schnapps relies heavily on support from his family. His father-in-law is a beekeeper in Fort Wayne, and a few years ago, the bees made so much honey that they didn't know what to do with all of it. Quirk says they decided to try fermenting and distilling it.
Yeah, we had never done mead before. We do a lot of different interesting fermentations here, but we had never done honey.
Quirk says the company approached Matt Bachman, an Indiana University researcher who specializes in yeast research and distillation. Bachman found that bees were producing yeast that could be isolated and used in mead, but they didn't find it in the hive.
They keep their hives very clean, so there wasn't much yeast even on their bodies. But what he did find was these yeast strains inside the gut, the biome of the honeybee. Because if you think about it, yeast actually helps process sugars, and that's what they're doing when they're digesting.
They harvest the yeast from dead bees they find outside the hives, then use it to help make the hyperlocal mead. And it takes 5 weeks to make. 3 of those weeks are dedicated to racking, where they separate out solids like pollen. Quirk says it's worth the effort.
A lot of that grocery honey is like a lot of just like pure cane sugar. They add it in there and then use honey flavoring. So getting a quality honey product is important, and to do that you really have to, we think that it's best to know your producer.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Taylor Haggerty.
And that's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber, the Gigacity Company, fiber internet, HD, and digital IPTV in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Mallard Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis, lawmg.com. The IU School of Education, preparing teachers, scholars, and administrators to improve teaching in Indiana and around the world. education.indiana.edu. IU Alumni Association, connecting IU's network of alumni and sharing the Indiana spirit through scholarships, advocacy, and volunteerism. alumni.iu.edu. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.